Under the heavy rain, sporadic disasters continue throughout both the island and the coastal seas. A couple in Malaysia utilizes a baby stroller as a tool to collect recyclable goods in their neighborhood. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Lori Chen. Thank you for joining us. A fire in an impoverished district of Quezon City in the Philippines resulted in the passing of 3 individuals and destroyed 35 households. Tzu Chi volunteers acted immediately with aid supplies to comfort the survivors.
A fire in this impoverished district of Quezon City has made the houses become ruins. The incident has led to the death of 3 people and destroyed 35 households.
We had nowhere to escape when the fire broke out because all the houses were connected together. If there were fire lanes in between the houses, we would have a chance to run away. Unfortunately, we were all trapped.
Upon hearing the news, Manila Tzu Chi volunteers prepared aid supplies and rice to conduct a community distribution.
The rice and mattress were very helpful to us because our belongings were all burned in the fire. I'm thankful to Tzu Chi for always being here when we need them the most.
Volunteers also gave emergency financial assistance to Rosalia, who had lost both of her parents in the fire.
If the fire only had burned down the house, my family would be able to get back on our feet. However, I lost 3 family members. I feel sad and helpless.
The money is not that much, but I personally think it's a big help.
Pingdong was recently hit with continuous heavy rain, and a man was washed away from the lower part of the Mudan Reservoir. His whereabouts are still unknown. Elsewhere, driftwood accumulated at many ports, making it hard for boats to navigate. After the heavy downpour, the rivers were overflowing. The rescuers had to use the rope system to cross the river to find the missing man. He went fishing at the Mudan Reservoir in the afternoon and is suspected of accidentally falling into the rushing waters. The roads became waterways. Heavy rains in the past few days have completely submerged the 30-meter road surfaces, resulting in a 40-centimeter drop in height.
We've asked High Power to quickly remove the power poles. This way, it will make it easier on the township office to fix the collapsed areas.
The rain has finally stopped now, but the provincial Highway 17 is still flooded. The water has not receded yet. Many cars have passed, blasting through the flooding zones. The water is still all the way up to the wheels. The flooded section is about 100 meters long. Only the fast lanes are open at the moment. As for the neighboring households, the water-blocking gates have been installed to prevent further flooding into the homes. For many boats off the coast of Taiwan, they are dealing with a whole other issue than people on land. Not only are they responsible for taking tourists safely to the sightseeing ports, but the drifting wood on the sea surface presents quite a dilemma.
You need to be very careful operating boats. The downpour has a huge effect on our main operating system.
Under the heavy rain, the sporadic disasters continue throughout the island. The township public office had sent people to clean up, hoping to restore the navigation channel as soon as possible. The heavy rain in Reeling took the life of a 55-year-old twin. The twin sisters were worried about their father going into the orchard during the storm, so they rode on their motorbike to find him. Due to the heavy flooding, the road was instantly turned into a river. Tragically, the younger twin sister ended up falling and drowning in the process. Local Tzu Chi volunteers immediately went to accompany the families.
Here is Hue in Yunlin County. The afternoon sun is blazing and quite hot. However, yesterday's weather was nothing like today. There were heavy rainfall so large that it overflowed many roads. This was a key factor of how yesterday's tragedy took place.
From the ambulance recording system, you can see that the entire road was underwater. There was no way to tell which side was the road and which side was the ditch. The drowning woman lied lifeless on the ground, while EMTs were desperately performing CPR on her.
We got the heart pumping again, but after a long rescue process, we weren't able to save her.
The small road, even if the rain has stopped, the river is still almost as high as the road itself. A pair of 55-year-old twin sisters were worried about their father going into the orchard in this type of weather. That was why they went to search for him on the motorcycle, but they accidentally fell into a deep flooding zone.
There is no trace of the road anymore. You can't see it. That's why they fell in.
Upon learning about the tragedy, the father and the older twin sister were overwhelmed with guilt. The husband of the deceased was even more depressed about the news. Tzu Chi volunteers went to care for the families and gave emergency relief.
This kind of thing happens in a blink of an eye. It's hard for anyone to accept this type of shocking news. All we can do is try our best to help them through this tragic event and accompany them in grieving their loss.
Residents said that this area, as long as it rains heavily, will flood quickly. They all hope that the government will caution people to not enter the flood zones, but also should quickly fix the core problems. This is the only sure way of protecting the crops and resident safety. The story of secondhand clothing in Kenya began in 1980, when donated items were intercepted by businessmen and sold cheaply in the markets. This was the start of an informal economy that has created millions of jobs in Kenya for the past 30 years. According to a UN survey, 1 out of every 100 people in Kenya are engaged in the industry. However, the Chinese market is now threatening this homegrown industry.
The second-hand clothing industry has existed for 30 years because it creates employment opportunities and feeds upwards of 1 million people. Paul is a porter and carries goods between the large and medium-sized dealers. He's the hub connecting these parts and also plays an important role in the second-hand clothing industry chain.
I'm handling a bundle for 40 shillings. Usually a bundle is 48 kilograms. You can do as much as you can, but you have to be very fast.
Every time he carries a bundle of second-hand clothes, he can earn about 40 shillings, which is the equivalent of 30 US cents. But one also needs to be quite quick, as he can be replaced if he doesn't move fast enough. After Paul arrives at the middleman's location, the bundle of second-hand clothes are opened and another job is created.
Because people want fitting shirts, but these are baggy. They are big.
Wang Hua has been in the second-hand clothing industry for 15 years. He specializes in picking up various shirts from the middlemen, and after cutting, he creates a new style that suits the locals.
I can fix 150 pieces of clothing a day.
Repairing 150 pieces of clothing a day yields her 5 shillings per garment, allowing her to earn some $180 US a month. The better tailored garments are then sent to other workers for ironing before being sold.
They are twisted in a manner that you cannot just wear it directly. So it requires you to go and iron this one. You can iron for 10 shillings, Kenyan 10 shillings. But this one is different. Maybe it might be 5 shillings.
Ironing a piece of clothing yields 5 to 10 shillings, and working 8 hours a day, one works quickly can process 200 pieces of clothing, yielding a monthly income of nearly $500 US. This is much higher than the average monthly Kenyan salary, which is $150 US.
It's very important to sell second-hand clothing. It helps a lot of people.
Second-hand clothing creates millions of jobs and has become a pillar of Kenya's second-hand industry. However, it does actually exacerbate the gap between the rich and the poor, leaving some to feel bitter that they cannot afford new clothes. The urban-rural gap is evident in Kibera, a 2.5 square kilometer area outside of Nairobi, which has a population of 1.2 million people who live below the poverty line.
They have an average monthly salary of between $120 to $150 US.
The slums are filled with waste and rubbish, with sewage flowing and flies everywhere. These 2 or 3-year-old children need to play alone in the streets because their parents are off at work. These young people who do not go to school need to start thinking of ways to make money to survive.
To get money for my resource is 100 leuko 50 bob from Tikomba.
Maybe they don't have money that is enough to get the new ones. They take 1 meal in a day. So that is why people prefer.
75% of Kenya's population is low income, but at the top of the pyramid are very rich people. Seeing the demand for cheap secondhand clothes in the Kenyan market, Chinese businessmen abandoned the sale of secondhand clothes to importers, which they sold them to wholesalers and middlemen and distributors, and ultimately to retailers. Instead, they skipped the import and sold right to the wholesaler using $1 to sell to middlemen, who passed on to distributors and retailers. The monopoly method made the final price of clothing lower, led to higher volume sales as well as more profits. In 2015, the amount of secondhand clothes imported from China accounted for 29% of the total market in Kenya.
We are being put out of business by Chinese. We are no longer making money in used clothing.
According to United Nations statistics, China's secondhand clothing exports to Kenya went from $269,000 in 1997 to $42.7 million in 2016. In less than 20 years, this is 158 times growth.
The second hand is cheap. You can get a blouse of $1.
Purchasing a bundle of secondhand clothes for $1 in 2016, Kenya's secondhand clothing transaction volume totaled $42.7 million, which is equivalent of 42.7 million bundles of secondhand clothing on the market. With a bundle of clothes being 60 centimeters high, the total transaction volume in terms of height in 2016 was equivalent of 50,433 Taipei 101 buildings, which is a serious impact on the textile industry.
There seems to be an invisible hand in this industry as importers feel that they don't earn enough money and gradually begin to retreat from this industry.
With the cost of secondhand clothing decreasing, profits along the supply chain have been compressed. While this benefits consumers, the purchase of secondhand clothes is no longer just to meet basic needs. This has led to the rise of fast fashion consciousness in Kenya, as Chinese manufacturers are offering cheap new clothes made in China on Makutano Street.
Things from China, we believe that it has good quality and a bit cheap.
People here, they don't like more expensive things. For China, we usually get those cheap things and very expensive, we mix them.
New clothes and secondhand clothes from China are having a profound impact on the Kenyan textile and garment industry, forcing it to move to other areas like Ethiopia, Uganda, and Tanzania. While this new battlefield may help the textile industry to regain its footing, China's monopoly in secondhand clothing, along with an explosion in new clothing production, has led to oversupply and is leading to new problems with waste, which may soon affect Kenya.
DaAi Mobile Food Pantry is continuing to operate during the summer break to help impoverished families. At the end of June, volunteers distributed fresh food at 2 local elementary schools.
On the third Monday of every month, DaAi Mobile Food Pantry comes to Jones Elementary School. This time, a Taiwanese volunteer, Ji Minggui, used his vacation in U.S. as an opportunity to serve others.
Ziji has established an outlet with the extra agricultural products from local farmers and the leftover food from stores. This allowed us to make the most impact with the least cost, also decreasing food waste.
The 80-year-old Sun Zhifeng lives in a senior home with his wife, and he enjoys being among people very much.
It's not tiring at all, and I'm very happy to see these children. I grew up in the farm, so I'm used to labor work. It's good for the health and also very valuable experience to do something for others.
The summer vacation began in June, but it's not a great time for children from impoverished families because there are no free meals provided by the government during the break. volunteer DaAi Mobile Food Pantry has drove to Miles Ave Elementary School. This is the 10th distribution for the Spanish low-income families since 2017. Considering that 53% of children in the city are overweight, volunteers collaborated with a non-profit organization to design a healthy diet for them.
My son and I are very glad to receive this food. It's a great help to my family. They all love the distributed food very much. I'm very grateful to Tzu.
I'd appreciate Tzu very much for helping our community. Many people have benefited from this.
It's my pleasure to be a volunteer. This foundation is a great blessing to us.
Volunteers distributed 25 different fresh fruits and vegetables, as well as grains, so that these impoverished children can have a healthier diet.
Once a month, Tzu Thailand chapter hosts free clinics for refugees. The services provided have expanded from Western medicine to even traditional Thai massages.
At the monthly free clinic for the refugees hosted by Tzu Thailand chapter, the volunteers are setting up the Jinsu multi-purpose folding beds. They've also prepared a variety of massage equipment for the new massage services.
Physiotherapy, my shoulders, my legs, I might come. Okay, so this is very nice.
These beds are very helpful because it prevents the masseurs from getting knee injuries. Thanks to the volunteers for providing everything we needed.
Massages from the professional masseurs have soothed the body and mind of the refugees. The massage service has received great feedback since it first launched in May. Hence, it will now be included in the free clinic every month.
I feel very good. Before I have a little pain, but now I feel I am very okay and I feel I'm very good.
We serve with smiles on our faces so the patients can relax. We hope our professional services can make them feel better and soothe their discomfort.
In the massage area, every masseur gives massage non-stop. To lessen their burden, the nursing students also took shifts to give massages.
My major is nursing, so even if I don't know how to give massages professionally, I still understand the basic concepts of acupuncture points. I'm very happy to adapt my knowledge to help the masseurs.
On top of the Western and traditional Chinese medical services, the traditional Thai massages have soothed the body pains and stresses for these refugees from afar.
A couple in Malacca, Malaysia, always pushes around a baby stroller in their community to collect recyclable items. Despite having full-time jobs as teachers, they still devote much time and effort promoting environmental protection.
It is not a baby in the baby stroller this couple is carrying, but the recyclable items they collected on the way.
We are very grateful for this baby stroller because it is a big help to us.
We saw a senior volunteer carrying a baby stroller to collect recyclables on DaAi TV, so I told my husband that I'm going to make one myself as well.
Ever since 2012, Liao Wen-kyung and his wife Chu Alan started to collect recyclables 5 days a week in their neighborhood. Although their profession are teachers, they volunteer whenever they can to collect any recyclable goods they find.
We used to do exercises in the mornings. It had never crossed our minds to be involved in doing recycling. Afterwards, we started to collect the items on our way back home, and to our surprise, we ended up with handfuls of objects.
We told them that it's for a good cause and we will sell these recycled items to help people in need. Many people started to give their own recyclable items to us.
Their actions in doing recycling in their everyday life has inspired and raised the awareness of environmental protection in the community.
Some items that we are not using can be used to help others in need.
I used to collect recyclables to sell, but now I just give it all to them. It's everyone's responsibility to protect the environment.
If we just throw things away, it will cause more pollution. So I give it all to them because they have a better way of treating them.
The couple takes time to collect the recyclable resources because they want to protect the earth together.
We admire them greatly. Despite having full-time jobs, they still devote much time and effort doing recycling together. Recycling volunteer Hong Rongshen used to be a taxi driver. However, things suddenly changed after he lost his vision due to damaging his optic nerve. He isolated himself from the world for more than a year. Thankfully, he was able to overcome depression with the help of his friend, and he started to go to the Tsuji recycling station in New Taipei City.
When I first found that I was visually impaired, I couldn't accept it and I felt very sad. I was wondering why I suddenly lost my eyesight, since they were in good condition before. That's why I had been staying at home, as I didn't dare to walk out of my house. The doctor said that there were some issues with my optic nerves, and because of the situation, I was unable to undergo a surgery. It would take me 1 or a half a year to recover. If the condition didn't improve, I would lose my vision. I can't see clearly with my eyes, so all the items I see are all mostly black. I usually ask other Tsuji volunteers to tell me whether it is colored or white and black. They will tell me what kind of paper it is.
I'm also physically challenged, so my heart goes out to him. Every time I saw him doing recycling when I came here, I admire him for his efforts. He came from afar to do recycling despite his poor vision.
He is so kind to me that he has been teaching me how to do recycling for more than a year. I feel very happy working with him every day.
When he first came, he was a little shy. I never heard him talking, nor did I ever see him smile. Recently, I find him more confident and energetic.
The Tima team held its annual fitness assessments for the current and retired staff of the police department. Using professional equipment, it tested the muscular endurance and cardiopulmonary functions of the policemen, reminding them health is important. Thank you for watching and see you next time.